Initially, he was like, no, we can't.
We're like, we just want a couple growlers.
Private
like,
party.
just that's all we're looking
and
for.
I can't remember if it was me or you, but it was you
It was Hunsucker,
that
for
looked
sure.
out and just saw us out there. And one of us was like, dude, and you were like, oh, what's up? And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll get you guys some growlers. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, we've been using Deer Grow products for a long time. The Plot Start and Plot Boost, more recently Plot Till. Now we've got 3 new liquid fertilizers that have been put in the mix that will cover everything we could want for a food plot program.
It's huge, man. The more food plotting we do, it's like, man, the liquids just make sense. Like whether it's herbicides or the Plot Start and Plot Boost, and now the fertilizers getting mixed in. It's like, man, I can combine all of those in certain cases and do less passes for more results.
I mean, it's all about efficiency. I mean, like you said, less passes. If you're out there treating your beans with glyphosate in the summertime, you can mix in this fertilizer, do that all at once. You have the boost in there that helps the metabolism. It's all about efficiency when we're talking about food plots. And really the big difference on these liquid fertilizers is you're bypassing some of these soil limitations, pH limitations, the soil type. In a lot of cases, we talk about dry fertilizers only being available for 17% of what you put down in the first year. These liquid fertilizers straight into the plant are 90% available in the first year. Huge difference in what you're going to see in growth.
It's huge. And so right now you can use code HUNTR15 for 15% off any of the Deer Grow products on their website. And as always,
better food plots, bigger deer. And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast, episode 215, as Nick continues to keep us in line. You're here, Nick.
215.
Nick just notified us it's Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Happy birthday, Spook Span.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure there's some other people, too, that will come out of the woodwork. But
Yep.
well, hey, wherever you guys are listening to us from, we appreciate you guys being here. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Those are 3 main places we're at.
From the trick-or-treating atmosphere,
yeah,
wherever you're at.
Yeah. Give us a like, follow, or subscribe, whatever's appropriate for the channel. One of those will give you a notification as to when do we drop these. But they're Tuesday and Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the 2 that we try to keep up with.
We're doing a pretty good job.
Inevitably, yeah. Dude, I don't know how you keep up with those Instagrams.
Usually from the tree stand or when I don't feel like working. I'm just like,
it's a nice division of labor because it's too much. I
gotcha.
I don't read the Instagram ones anymore, but
I gotcha.
We have some merch on the website and it's cool. Check it out if you want.
Check it out if you want. We don't care. But if you want.
Well, it's cool. No, we some of you guys have bought stuff and it's cool to be supported in that way. So appreciate that. We're trying to, keep cool stuff on there. Jeremy's got one of the water bottles and stuff. So that's fun. Make sure Nick gets paid and Nick appreciate you.
Nick,
I do.
He just had pizza. He's pretty happy.
Wow, yeah. Leftover pizza.
Yeah.
I didn't get offered a piece, but it's all right.
Sorry, I was
It's all
hungry.
right.
I was hungry.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Not that
I
hungry.
didn't need it. I didn't want it anyways.
So, and with that, here we go.
I wonder how many dads are like walking around trick-or-treating with their kids with an ear pod in listening to this.
I bet quite a few.
Yeah. The Halloween atmosphere has changed a lot. Like now they're like Saturdays at like 1 p.m. Like you can't go out at night and trick-or-treat anymore. It's like, dude, we were dodging razor blades in our Reese's cups back in the day. Like you can go out at dark and like trick-or-treat.
Well, that's why. Yeah, you got to be careful these days. Some real weird. Some real weirdos.
Weirdos out there.
What was that one candy growing up that you loved getting on trick or treat night?
It was Reese's cups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Those were always good.
Yeah,
Starburst are good.
I do remember at some point
The
being
little
like you
Twizzler
had to look for
boys.
the old razor blades in them.
Yeah.
That was weird. Was that in a movie or something? I
I
think.
don't know.
I feel like I was in a movie.
I don't know. We definitely were looking for them though.
Yeah.
That's kind of strange.
Yeah, pretty disturbing. Now it's just a bunch of pedophiles running around out there.
Well, it's just what you
about.
heard. Yeah, you're like, hey, just watch for razor blades. That's what they said. Yeah, you know what? That was the John Gainey. What was his name? They called him the Candyman.
Yeah, John Wayne
Gacy. Yeah, that's what it was. That was the razor blade and the candy thing. I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fact check us on that at some point. Somebody will.
You ever see that? I don't know if it's a movie or whatever, or just like folklore. You ever hear about like the Slender Man?
I don't know.
It's like there's like a little jingle with it, and it's like Slender Man. He does things that nobody can. He's terrifying.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I'm like, I'm creeped out by
Was the movie
Ugh.
wasn't there a movie, The Candyman?
Mhm. Yeah, that's the John Wayne Gacy thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but there's another one I think called Slender Man.
Mm.
I don't know if it's a movie or what. It's just
Hmm.
terrifying.
Sounds like it. Anyways, happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy
you shot a
Halloween.
buck a year ago today.
Was it on Halloween?
It was the 30th. It was
Yeah.
the day before.
We did our live podcast though
Live from.
That's right.
on Halloween night.
Which we'll probably
right?
do another one coming up here soon.
We are going to do one. We'll get prepped on that, but it'll be at least one, maybe two during our Midwest trip. So
Sweet.
live from Illinois and
I think we
Iowa.
can promise
We'll
good
do that.
quality on this because we have the rig to do it now.
We do.
We've got a few under our belt, so those should be fine.
Yeah. It was the camera thing that we gotta.
We tried to run it through a program, and that made it worse. And overall, I'd say they were fairly decent.
Yep.
We had a lot of beers on the Kansas one. Did you notice you can see you peeing in the background of part of that? Somebody commented that. I was like, oh, yeah, you can.
At least I was just peeing in the bottle.
Most of the comments were like, geez, Jeremy's lit. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
she's just pretty regular.
Yeah, I'm just hydrated. Don't worry.
just well.
it was high life. That's not even.
It's
real.
high life. That's not even alcohol.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, we were just talking about with our guests if he had to pee, just like we can't even
Do
see. Yeah, just go.
Just do it.
Just go.
Just go, man.
Just go, man. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. So it's Halloween. That's exciting. Tomorrow's November. That might even be more exciting. At this point,
I want to
it's
see
like-
somebody go as Jared and Jeremy for Halloween.
Oh, that would be funny.
That'd be awesome.
Like a little group costume.
That'd be really
They
funny.
can wear a little small tee for me.
Yeah, that'd be good. I didn't-
Little goatee for
yeah,
you.
Yeah, just goatee in on my side. Yeah, that'd be good. Cool. Well, yeah, it's Halloween.
A corn bag over your shoulder. That's a great idea. That's what I would do. If
You
I
put
was
a
going to
corn-
be us for Halloween, I would take a bag and I would write corn on it for my my candy bag.
Can you take? Oh yeah, there you go. That'd be nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice touch.
Fill me up.
Very nice touch.
I don't know if I said that, but
Yeah. Speaking of kids getting all freaked out at Halloween,
some real weirdos out there.
Jared's running around with a bag saying, "Hey, little kids, fill me up." Jesus. And Halloween's at 1 p.m. on Saturday now. Yeah, we get it. Anyways, yeah, great time of the year. Always awesome. Right around that Halloween time frame from a hunting side. And we've got a cool guest today. We got Mike Hunsucker on from Heartland Bowhunter. We were just talking about, we had Sean and Rex on here. And so,
a couple times.
yep. So Mike is actually coming to us live from Eastern Colorado right now.
Yeah.
Doing some whitetail hunting out there. So, excited to get Mike on. And obviously, we've been a big fan of Heartland Bowhunter for a long time from a production standpoint, and the way that those guys do their storytelling has been
One of the best.
yeah, I think really have kind of set the tone, I think, for what a lot of people look for in what I believe is content anymore versus kind of the standard, get there, climb up, kill, get down, traditional hunting show atmosphere.
It's a big deal, man. Yeah, it's a benchmark for quality.
Mm-hmm.
Other guys I think have stepped up their game in recent years as the standard was set, but there was a time where it was like nobody
was doing it.
Yeah, it was far and above.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I think that was I think that, as hunting content has shifted, it was because of, guys like Mike and Sean putting together a Heartland Bowhunter that, really set that tone for something that was different, something that was storytelling, things that, maybe we didn't realize at the time, but quickly we found out this is the kind of content we want. We want to be pulled into the story, into the journey and through the hunt, versus just, seeing somebody climb up in a stand, shoot it, and go home
grip and
type of
grind.
thing.
Yep.
Yep. So anyways, we know Mike's going to end up getting in the stand sometime later this afternoon. So let's bring him on. I got you, Mike.
Mike's here.
All right. Perfect, brother. Well, we appreciate you joining us from the road in between tree stand sits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you reached out, I think I was like scrambling in between Iowa and Kansas, or Iowa and Colorado, just trying to get something figured out. So
Yeah. Because I think at the time you were like, well, you had just shot the Missouri buck. And so I think you were like, I think I'm going to Colorado, but I'm not sure yet. And I was like, all right, I'll just follow up closer and we'll figure it out.
yeah, it's always a moving target this time of year.
It is, man. It is. So, well, first of all, dude, again, we appreciate you coming on. And, like we were saying kind of pre-podcast, no scripts for these things. We always just kind of dive in and talk around things. But, I guess just for some of our listeners to get more familiar with you, if they're not already, talk to us a little bit about your background. So, from Missouri, did you grow up in Missouri? Is that kind of born and raised?
Yeah. Born and raised in the Kansas City area. Got initially introduced to hunting from my dad, who was more the weekend warrior rifle guy. And, but I was just, as a kid, really drawn to the deer camp aspect and everything. And went around there, but, my older brother got to go down first and did the deer camp thing. And I was super envious of that. And, once I first did that first ever deer camp, I was just hooked on the overall experience of everything. You know what I mean? I hadn't even shot a deer yet, but I was like, man, this is awesome. This is what it's about. Like being out here in nature, like camping out, having bonfires, cooking over the fire, like, hanging around the bonfire while the boys are drinking beers. And I'm, a kid like, dang, I want a beer, but no, no, just that whole camaraderie thing is what, sold me on the hunting, and still does to this day, to be honest.
Very cool, man. Yeah. It's kind of funny. We talked to a lot of people that, their parents or uncle or grandparents, whoever got them into it, typically was not as crazy of a hunter as they are today, right? Like it's a weird thing when you see that, because growing up, like, as call it the American boy, like you look up to your dad or whoever it is to kind of be like, hey, I want to do that. And it seems really funny when you start talking to a lot of us who are so ate up with it, especially around the bow hunting scene. Oftentimes it's our group that's kind of exceeded what they had done growing up, or as a family person.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I picked up a bow, was just because, in Missouri you got 10 days with a rifle. That's really it. But we have a 4-month bow season. I was like, I got to do this more often. And then, of course, once I, tried to shoot my first deer with a bow, just the whole trials and tribulations. Then once I finally did kind of come together, I was like, wow, like this is just such an incredible feeling of accomplishment, of all the hard work that went into it. And, when I got started in the content world, it was like, VHS, like Primos, Truth About Hunting, and HS, Primetime Bucks. And like, I think, Waddell was doing the Monster Buck stuff, and maybe Road Trips may have just gotten, I don't even think Road Trips was a thing yet. But I mean, basically it was like, you watch these hunts because you aspire to shoot a deer like that and be a part of that. And but then I'm sitting on the sidelines in reality going, man, they make it look easy. Like this ain't easy.
Yeah. Well,
that's kind of what got me hooked originally.
I think it's kind of funny when you talk about those days. Like I remember clearly watching a lot of those same productions, and growing up in Pennsylvania, it was like it was so foreign watching these guys go to Kansas and hunt, or Iowa and hunt, or whatever it might be. And I'm thinking, wow, like it's hard to believe that these things exist out there. And there was something kind of magical about it as well, because you fast forward to today, and it's like, boy, it seems like, anybody and everybody could, find out what they need to find out online to go and hunt Kansas at some point, or Iowa at some point, or wherever it might be. And back then it just seemed so out of reach that it was like, boy, you always just kind of were trying to strive to figure out how to do that stuff.
Yeah, that was a foreign land for you coming from PA.
It was,
You're
man.
like, big bucks, those don't exist.
Yeah, big bucks in the Midwest didn't exist. In fact, I ended up, I think I moved to Mississippi for a while, and it was in 2010 or 2011 is when I moved to Columbia, Missouri for a 5-year stint there. And coincidentally, in 2012 is when we got smoked with EHD. So that was like my first, my first like Midwestern hunting season. And at the same time, it was like this massive EHD outbreak. And, but it was, Missouri kind of was my gateway to the Midwest and allowed me to get to hunt Kansas eventually more. And, but yeah, it at that time, it was kind of all of those things, and that wasn't that long ago. It was 10, 12 years ago, but all of those things kind of coming together of like, hey, this is possible to come out to the Midwest and hunt deer.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just got done recording a podcast with the Land and Legacy guys about a farm tour that we're going to be doing next spring up at our main farm in northern Missouri. And I was trying to remember back how long we've had that place, and the first year we had it was the year that 2012 of EHD, and so I was joking around saying that, oh yeah, man, you can't argue with our results. We came from nothing to build this empire, but it was a little bit extrapolated because every buck was dead. Every mature buck was dead on the property in 2012. Of course. But yeah, that was wild, man.
It was, man. That was the craziest thing that I've seen, and obviously there's been a lot of, outbreaks since then, but that 2012 one, and I mean, seemed like in that year you talked to everybody from, Iowa and Kansas clear to hell where we were at just south of Pittsburgh. And I mean, everybody was just torched.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest, most widespread outbreak of EHD as far as, that I can recall, as far as we've known about what really EHD is.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of weird when you see that all kind of line up. But so, obviously you grew up in Missouri. That's kind of how you picked up. When did you start bow hunting then? I assume you got into gun hunting, early and first with your dad, but when did you start picking up a bow?
Yeah. I think I was like 14-ish when I picked up a bow. I actually, I kind of looked at hunting a little bit differently, even from the very beginning. Like, we were down at rifle camp and everybody wakes up, basically shooting time, and fires the 4-wheeler up and goes and drops a guy off on each corner of the tree line. And I don't know, I just wanted to try something different, do something different. And so there was a big chunk of timber, that joined that farm that we hunted. And I was like, I'm gonna dive in that timber and just kind of look around. And I didn't know really much of anything. But I just knew, there was, I found some good trails that coincided, and I bought a stand from Walmart and threw it up there, and ended up that year killing a pretty big deer. At that time, it was like it was probably like a mid-30s 140 deer, but he had a bunch of points. He was like a 6x6, and I mean, I'll never forget bringing that back to camp, and my dad and his buddies that have been hunting that property for years were like, "This little shit, you got to be kidding me! Like, these things exist?" And I'm like, "Man, like, you guys stop shooting every fork horn buck you see, and stop smoking cigarettes and driving around in circles on the 4-wheeler, and if you guys want to shoot some deer and let some deer grow." And so that was kind of cool seeing that evolution with our core group. And when we got started out, was like everybody stopped shooting those little bucks, and then what do you know, my brother ended up killing a good one, my dad's buddy ended up killing a good one, my little brother, right as soon as he got more into it, killed a giant. So and I think that's just been not just our deer camp. That was like the evolution of knowledge of quality deer management passing across the state, across the area. And everybody was kind of reaping the rewards, because before that, buck had to be really smart and very lucky to reach that class.
Yep. Yeah. I think it was, it always seemed like it took like an actual example in the camp to like get everybody to commit to that side of it. Right. Like your buck there, like you brought that back and it was like, hey guys, like here's the proof. Like it can happen. It's not just, by happenstance or by luck. Like these things can continue to exist and grow if you pass them at this other point. And that's quickly kind of started spreading from camp to camp or property to property. And yeah, I think it made an enormous difference and push across that area, especially during that time frame. Yeah.
And so, I where I lived and grew up was a, suburban area of Kansas City, basically. And not a lot of people hunted in school. But my business partner, Sean, and his dad were pretty avid. His dad was a real avid bow hunter at that time. He was kind of like my bow hunting, idol that I looked up to. He killed some nice deer and really was a hunter, was hunting. And so Sean and I naturally kind of gravitated towards, hunting together and hanging out together, in junior high and that type of stuff. And I had a couple opportunities to hunt some properties in that area where I grew up that were actually inside city limits. So they were bow hunting only. So that was kind of like I said, naturally I was drawn towards it because of the liberal long season, but also some of those properties were archery only. So I was one way or the other going to figure out how to shoot a bow. So went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and there was no Bass Pro in our area at the time. The Cabela's wasn't even built out there yet, I don't think. And went to Dick's Sporting Goods, bought a bear, or I think it was a bear Buckmaster edition.
Nice. Very nice.
Like a Jackie Bushman signature series or something.
Oh yeah.
And just picked it up and got it set up in the shop, and then just started learning and just basically just there was no information around at the time. There were some hunting forums and stuff,
Yeah.
And I just tried to soak up as much as I could and really learn the most just in the field, as most of us do. Just took it to the tree and made plenty of mistakes and just learned from there.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
What can we say, man? Another year back with Hoyt. We're both shooting RX8s. I'm shooting 70 pounds in the bourbon, which I love bourbon.
It's great.
And you're shooting 80 pounds in the straight black.
Blacked out as always, man. I got so I'm shooting the 500 grain Easton Arrow this year. And at 80 pounds, I'm flinging that thing at like 300 feet per second. I mean, it's deadly. Put a water buffalo in front of me and he's done.
I mean, we shot it earlier. You literally put an arrow through a brand new target, like never been shot before.
I know. So one other thing that Hoyt is doing this year is they're making all their own strings in-house. And so the quality is top notch, and it just really is something that is setting them apart from their competitors.
Well, what we always try to do when we go to our bow shop, Ultimate Outdoors, is we try to shoot other bows just to make sure that we are really giving everybody a fair chance.
Sure.
The reality is it's a no-brainer. Hoyt, it stands above all of them every single time.
Definitely. And so right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 20% off any apparel on the Hoyt website. And as always,
get serious, get Hoyt.
Mike, how long have you guys been doing Heartland Bowhunter? Like officially, how long has that been around?
Yeah, so we're filming right now, which it's crazy. We're filming our 18th season.
Wow.
So John and I started doing it. We started in college. We started filming prior to that. I kind of naturally was gravitated towards just the video side of things naturally. And I bought a camera. That was one of the first things I saved up for, aside from my bow. I bought a video camera, and my best friend had a farm, and his parents were super laid back. And so like me and my buddies always hung out there and like would film stuff. And we actually produced like a little, it was like a Dynacom series for our junior high school. And it was like it was the PG version of Jackass. It was literally us on the farm, just doing dumb, silly stuff, and we produced that for our junior high deal. So like naturally those two interests kind of coincided, and Sean and I, I think I like rigged up a self camera on my stabilizer, my bow, and filmed shooting a deer. And I was like, oh, this is so cool to be able to share with your buddies and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then John was like, well, why don't we start just hunting together and just filming some stuff so we can share, with our buddies. And so that's what we did. And, one thing kind of led to another. We got more serious about it, got more interested in it. We knew we wanted to own our own business. When we went to college, his dad's an entrepreneur. My dad's a small business owner as well. And so one thing kind of led to another. And we're like, let's take a run at this. There's an opportunity to do something cool. And coming from a suburban area, like I said, where like most of our friends didn't hunt and didn't get it. Like they're going out to these parties and we're, leaving early because we're gonna get up the next morning and go hunting, or not leaving early and still getting up the next morning and going hunting. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, man, what's wrong with you guys? You guys are crazy about this bow hunting stuff. And so our kind of goal was just like, hey, can we create something and that they could, we could show to people who don't hunt or people that don't get it. Yep. And they might not like it, I might not understand it, but they could go, wow, like I totally understand why you do what you do and why you're obsessed with it.
Hmm. I'm sure there was like a lot of them along the way, but was there like a defining moment I was going to ask about, but like, what was the first foot forward? Like so season 1, was that like a DVD, or was that like, when were you guys like, hey, like we got something here, like we got enough to like put something out to the public?
Yeah, we actually made a turkey hunting DVD. It was our first ever released. It was called Arrows Unleashed. And it was archery turkey hunting, which not a lot of people do that either, or did that at the time, especially.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that was kind of unique, but it was just like everything else, that was out there and available, in the world. And from a production standpoint, it wasn't really what we really wanted and had envisioned. And so, it took us, I would say, a few seasons really of the show. So after the DVD, we actually got into, I think you guys touched on the podcast with Sean and Rex about the tree arm business, but we started manufacturing tree arms. So that was Sean's dad's background. He owned a machine shop, and we were filming stuff. And Sean and I bought a cheap tree arm that was just junk, and we're like, man, like who, all these people that are producing TV shows, what are they got to be using something better, and basically everybody was just having somebody they know, somebody created one time, and just like, then somebody would take it to another machine shop and be like, hey, can we replicate this?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And so that's how we got our foot in the door with the industry, was creating those tree arms. And it was kind of a twofold deal. I mean, the long story short is that the market of the high end big tree arm is pretty small. You know, the people that are filming with big production cameras and that type of stuff. But what it did is it introduced us and networked us with people who were, you know, had TV shows, were in the industry doing that. And we learned all about the business that way. And so that was huge for us, just understanding how the business side of things worked and getting the show off the.
Was that a company that like we would recognize? Is that a name that's still around, or did it just kind of?
So no, it was under Heartland Bowhunter. It was the HB Sniper Pro tree arm.
Okay.
Which down the road we partnered with Muddy, and they manufactured our version of the arm. Once we quit manufacturing it, they manufactured our version and several smaller versions to reach a broader market.
Yep.
And because obviously, you know, we sold the most of the cheapest, smallest one that people could put their little camera on, because that's you know, most people have a little camera. So yeah, so it was pretty cool. We still have some of those original arms still to this day, and pretty neat to look back on.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
You guys are using camera arms even with a cameraman in the tree?
Yeah. So now we actually haven't been the past year or so using a camera camera arm for the main camera. With technology and cameras, we're shooting all on DSLRs and on the Canon R5.
Yep.
It has like insane image stabilization in the camera.
Yeah. Yep.
It's got the IBIS plus the lens stabilizer that, like, in the eyepiece is full color LCD screen. So like if you're shooting through the eyepiece holding the camera, I mean, you can be as steady as you need to be. And so we have not been running a tree arm much for that main camera. We still run a secondary arm, a little short, you know, Rex. It's called the Rex arm. It's like 6 inches long and has a little head on it for like a POV camera.
Yeah.
That stays on the Hunter all the time. But we haven't been running arms the past couple of years. We kind of started doing it spot and stalk mule deer hunting because you don't have any. We don't want to carry on tripod. We're like, man, if we can film a spot and stalk mule deer hunt, you know, with handheld, then we can definitely do that in the tree. Dude,
that image stabilization technology, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated technologies in the hunting industry. Like you're talking about from a camera standpoint, but my rangefinder and my binoculars, not my in the field binoculars, but I got a pair of Canon, and Nikon makes them too, but for like scouting from the truck. Dude, those things are insane. Nuts. They're pricey. I mean, those binos I'm talking about, they're 18x50s. They're like $1,400. I mean, they're pricey, but those things kill mule deer. You want to talk about like a scouting tool? Yeah, especially if you're walking around holding your bow in one hand, and you got your binos in one hand, just like, and you're out of breath, and whatever else. Yeah, that stabilization is awesome. Yeah, as long as you don't throw it at the mule deer. I remember seeing you doing that one time.
That's right. That was a rangefinder. My buddy Jeremy launched it, but he was one of those guys. He's one of those guys that's just too cool to wear camo. I think he was wearing like a Carhartt vest over his jacket or something, and the buck hurt his arm go whoosh instead of the rangefinder falling on the other side of him like we hoped. But it worked out. I'm
trying to recall to reminisce on that a little, because there was a time where I was like, I bought the DVDs, and I was, we were talking about. In fact, it's kind of funny to be even talking to you now, Mike, after all this time. It's like there was like a handful of guys, like, and your guys' channel for sure was one of them that I was like, as a kid, like I'm 31, and so I must have been in my teens, right? It would have been early on. I want to say it was like season 7 or 8, maybe, where I remember there were some hunts that I recall. I remember like junior. Right? What season was that?
I think that was season 4.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was earlier than that.
Yeah. That was one of the first like deer that we killed that was like we had like history with, and like had like found some shit. And we let him go, and I mean I passed him up the year before 165 inches, and like I felt like an idiot doing that. Like that was like it would have been one of my biggest bucks ever, I'm sure, at the time, and that was one where it all clicked from a management standpoint for Sean and I, for sure.
And I remember that resonated with me. I was like, oh, and I would show that to my dad. I'm like, look, like you could pass these deer in the next year. And remember that one. I remember Clayton shooting one. I think Skylar was filming him, and it was on like the whatever he calls it, the 20-acre wood or whatever. And I remember he says I've had a pretty rough go at it. Pretty rough go. I remember like almost. Have you seen that hunt? Almost tearing up over that. I was like, there's a few of those that just really stand out because of the age and like where I was at coming out. I was like, dude, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I know where he's been.
I can't remember if that was. I think that was the buck he called Tall Boy. Was he like super tight and tall and like almost beams touched?
It wasn't Tall Boy. It was
Okay, it wasn't Tall Boy.
It was Slick Willie is what it was.
Oh, Slick Willie. Yeah, that was a great buck too. Big winner. Yep.
Tall Tine
Slick
Rascal,
Willie.
he calls him.
Yeah.
One of the non politically correct names, Slick Willie. I killed a buck that we called Daddy Fat Sack. We actually named the TV episode Daddy Fat Sack, which I can't really believe to this day. But he had something going on down there, and he was packing.
Yeah. Now you'd get Me Too'd for that or canceled, whatever. You'd
exactly.
Woke out of it. So no, man, it's cool. It's funny. So so you and Sean, you kind of talked about the college side. I remember. You remember like being a bow hunter in college? Like it was.
I remember I didn't go to classes on Friday. I left. I told all my professors early on. I was like, I won't be here Fridays.
Yeah.
So sorry. Like.
I remember having to like check my bow at the campus police station when I lived in the dorm. Like I couldn't have it in my dorm, so I had to like.
That was responsible of you. I didn't. I think I should those rules.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I don't remember what I did.
And it was
leave
so
mine in my
weird,
truck, maybe
because it'd be like 4 a.m. and I'd be like knocking on the police door to like get my bow, and like every time like one of the cops would be like all freaked out that I was there, and I'm like, dude, you're making me keep it here. Like I need my bow to go. And they were like, it was such an inconvenience. I'm like, why are we even doing this then? It's just like, just let me keep this thing in my door.
Penn State? Mm-hmm. Man, I could be dead wrong, but I want to say I just took it and I never even gave it a thought.
Yeah.
There's a chance though that that never happened. Maybe I left it in my truck, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm actually just remembering now. Sean and I went to Lenwood University in St. Charles there. And we're a part of the shooting team. And so we actually had an on-campus shooting facility, reloading facility, and that's where they kept all the guns and stuff. So that's where we were able to keep our
stuff. Kept your bows and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So we can come and go and get them, whatever.
I remember I think it was my junior year that I actually lived off campus, and it was like the greatest thing because I like had all my guns, I had my bow, I had like everything there. I'm like, it saved me an extra hour in the morning from having to try to like go get it from the campus police station.
Dude, I used to shoot because we lived in the South Side, and I used to shoot. We had like there was no acreage there. Obviously, there were house stacked next, and I was one of 3 dudes in the house, and there was the little lane that was probably like 10 or 15 yards long that I used to shoot my bow down all the time.
Yeah, pretty freaking wild. But it those are the kind of things that I think you start to put together. Like I'm sure when you and Sean probably had this discussion in college, it was like, hey, like let's do this, not knowing necessarily what the heck's going to come out of it.
No, yeah, we had we had an idea of what we wanted to do, but I mean, it was one of those deals where we just, kept throwing stuff at the wall until something stuck. And, I think, it was just good timing. There's no doubt about it. I mean, obviously we were intentional with our direction and knew what we wanted to do, but like the timing couldn't have been more perfect, for something new and refreshing and different. Like it just like I said, like learning hunting and growing up doing this hunting and then watching stuff that was out there at the time, I was like, that's not what we do. That's not what we're doing. They're not showing the whole thing, and they're making it look easy. They're making it look like they're, the best guys in the world, and they don't show misses. And I'll never forget when we like I said, early on, the forums were like the, source of information. It's like, Archery Talk, of course, and then bowhunting.com. Bowhunting.com was something different before that. But anyway, those forums, you just go on there and like, you just read people just bashing everybody on, that has, DVDs and whatever, and just like, ragging on them. And I was pretty active in those forums. And so like, I would, post stuff that we were doing or whatever and see how it did. And we almost never had anybody say anything negative about us. If they did, it was always like, oh, these guys, like, they're amateurs. Like I watched them miss a deer, and oh, they're not shooting big bucks. They're just shooting, they're just shooting little bucks. And we were shooting nice 3-year-old, 4-year-old bucks, like whatever. Like, but I didn't care. We didn't care. We weren't ego driven, and weren't set out to like make ourselves look badass and macho. We were just like sharing our relatable experiences with people. And I think that's why it was so well received. Plus the production value. It was we're trying to kind of have a hybrid between the two.
I can recall people using your level of quality like as the insult. Like, not that it was an insult, but I can remember people being like, well, they're like, it's not all pretty pictures, and like basically like bashing the slow-mo, like the cinematic value of it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's why it's awesome.
I specifically remember like I don't think it was like a specific YouTube channel, but I had a discussion for somebody who was making like YouTube content. This is whatever, 7-8 years ago. And they literally said, it's not like we're making a Heartland Bowhunter or something. Like that was the benchmark they made for like why they were doing the content the way they were doing on YouTube.
It really is. I wasn't just, saying that to pat you on the back. Like it really became the benchmark of like, okay, well, do we want like whatever, is like a throw together YouTube channel to like a Heartland Bowhunter quality thing. That's a standard term I think that people use in the industry. We've used it for sure.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting to see that how all that's evolved, and a lot of stuff now on YouTube that does real well is super raw and like trash production value.
Yeah,
but it is relatable, and that's what people are drawn to. And so, excuse me, we've tried. We're obviously not going to steer away from our quality production because that's what we're kind of known for, and that's what I enjoy. We enjoy that telling those stories, but we also never want to get to the point where it's not relatable and not something that like we own some farms and lease some farms. We have permission on farms. We door knock. We do it all. And obviously, as you grow and your hunting aspirations kind of change and stuff, that all evolves. But like we have tried our best to not steer clear of our roots, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, please don't, because like, and Jeremy and I think maybe what's the word? Casually disagree on it, or we, we enjoy different things about, whatever. Like I'll watch those, we come across whatever YouTube video and it's like, oh, there's a thing, it's raw, and it's like, oh, they killed big buck on it. It's like, cool, I'll watch that. But I really do long for the quality, like the cinema, and because that's what you want out of it. Like for me personally, like I'm watching hunting content, if I am watching it, to be entertained and to immerse myself like in that mindset as much as possible. And, a guy doing it raw and stuff is whatever. And like you said, it is relatable, but it's not like an experience to where I'm like, I get it. Like I'm there, I'm experiencing it the way they did.
The other side
You're
is
not
like
emotionally engaged.
Yeah.
And I'm an emotional guy, right? I want to be emotionally engaged.
The other side's just documenting it to document it. Right? They just, hey, we got it on film. Here it is. Like there it is. It's not taking you through any kind of story or journey or emotional pull through at all.
Yeah.
Like
well, I would say even right now, you and I are very much on the raw spectrum of like,
correct.
Jeremy and I, for the first time ever, are filming with our phones out of conviction to our listeners of they're like, hey, we've been listening to you guys talk about this stuff for 4 years. Like, let's see it. But I'm not willing to sacrifice, in my mind, the experience of like, what hunting is to me and to us by going a full-on cinematic. It's obviously there's a scale to get there, right? And not that we won't ever or will ever. Who knows? We're just doing it, like I said, out of conviction to our listeners, and we're enjoying it now. Now that there's people that want to watch it, it's like, okay, it's kind of cool.
I obviously have the production background and enjoy the filming aspect and doing all that. And Sean and I now, we obviously initially started filming it, each other, but then we now have full-time guys that travel and film with us. And like those guys have gotten so, good at what they do that it's hands off for us, which is awesome. But it's allowed me I really enjoy doing the phone route. And like, I try to, through my Instagram stories, kind of tell a story from a raw perspective and utilize the phone and the GoPro or whatever and capture kind of that way. So like for me, I guess just for me, it makes it even more challenging, and it adds another aspect to the hunt that I enjoy both of it. You know what I mean? I'm not, I don't, it is a business for us and it is our livelihood, but that's not why we do what we do. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy every day I get to be out there in the field and hunt. And so like capturing some of that and doing some of that on my own, now that I don't have to worry about the actual camera behind me, running, then makes it rewarding too.
So, Mike, obviously, Heartland being so different, like kind of when you guys came into the industry and really hitting that kind of peak stride around outdoor television, outdoor channel, sportsman's channel, etc. What was the reception like from the industry and in particular like partners with your style? Because traditionally, that's not anything that they were getting behind, right? They were very much behind the shows that, not in a knock, but were more commercialized and like, here's the product, here's the brands, I'm hunting, I kill the deer, I go home, and then next week's a completely different episode type of thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve or an experience, where it took some time for companies to adapt and realize that. And, we were, for lack of a better term, we literally just looked at what people were doing and did about exactly the opposite. Like, we're not going to cram products down people's throat. We're not going to shoot a buck first sit in the stand at an outfitter and say, thanks for this outfitter for having me. And my Matthews bow killed him first shot and blah, blah, blah. Like we just did the opposite of what everybody else was doing. And, it from a partnership standpoint, it took some convincing, obviously, and some, we had to get people to buy in. And once they eventually saw that return, which was a couple years down the road, people really gravitated towards that and that soft sell. People don't want to be sold. They don't want to be told you need to buy this because it's the best there is. And they know that the company's paying you to say that. Mm-hmm. They want to, say, oh man, I like this guy. And he, spends a lot of time is serious about bow hunting. So he must trust his equipment. And, and therefore I know that that's probably, what I should look to buy. And so that's one thing that like, it wasn't always the case. Obviously starting out, we had to kind of grind it to make things work. But we've always been true, to our partnerships, and we are very fortunate to be able to work with brands that we want to work with. Not that we have to, because we need the money at the end of the day. So that's been pretty cool. And we've been huge on loyalty too. That's actually a big part. I'm a very outgoing person. I love the business aspect and that side of it. And, I've enjoyed building those relationships over the years with the partners, and a lot of that's changed, unfortunately, with the way the industry, has got a lot of private equity involved in it now. Mm-hmm. And, decisions are being made, are made by, based off of bottom line, and there's a lot less of that relationship stuff. Mm-hmm. And so basically, if we switch sponsors over the years, it's not because we decided to move on and go with somebody who's going to pay us more money. It's because decisions were made at a different level and whatever other reason. So honestly, I'm a little bit burned out in that aspect of it. We still have a, great core group of sponsors, a lot of them that have been there since the beginning, and those relationships are stronger than ever. And I value those more than I ever did before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing, I think, for a lot of people listening to this who aren't on the industry side to understand like what you mean when, specifically you talk about being burnt out on that. But this industry has changed so much, and especially the last 10 to 12 years, because of that private equity step in, and it's basically taken what was like a lot of individual brands who very much were competing against each other to create better products, to grab market space, to innovate. Yeah, to innovate, to where now it's been very much bottom line driven, and it's a handful of companies owning probably now over 100 brands total, between a few different companies. And it's a wild change in the space because of that. And that's something that a lot of general hunters who use those products don't often understand or get to see the behind the scenes curtain from.
Yeah, it's a niche industry, and it's there have been some private equity group-owned brands that have done it right. The private equity owns them, and they allow those brands to operate individually with the people that created those brands, and those are the ones that are still doing well and doing really well. And it's when private equity steps in and makes these decisions and comes and says, "Hey, our bottom line, we're positioning to sell, and we need to cut expenses," and so they cut ties with these relationships with folks like us, for example, that have worked with them for a long time, and they're like, yeah, sorry, we're not going to renew for this year, but follow up with us next year, and we'll see about that. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah,
like, you don't just sign on 1 year, sign off the next, maybe come back. Like, not for us. We're not jumping brands back and forth. We're not taking a paycheck. Like, that's not why we do what we do. And so, there is the whole business aspect of it, and it's obviously gotten more and more complex as the barrier to entry has gotten to be next to nothing too. Anybody can go out there and buy a camera and launch a YouTube channel tomorrow. So the key, you know, I talk to people all the time about it. It's good for the industry because it's competitive and you know, the cream rises to the top. But you know, to truly, you know, stand out and have something unique is difficult. So the folks that create, you know, something that's unique and different that hasn't been done before, those are the ones that see success. You know, you see a lot of tail chasing in the industry. You saw it when like Lee and Tiffany got big, and how many husband and wife shows came out after that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then same thing with us, you know, when we got, you know, we first kind of came onto the scene and kind of blew up there at the beginning, like everybody was like, oh, I'm going to make my show like Heartland Bowhunter. And like, if you're trying to do something that somebody else in the industry is already doing, in any industry, this isn't just the hunting world, like you're already one step behind. You're not, you know, you're not them. And so we always searched outside of the industry for inspiration, especially in our world and production. Like the hunting industry is like this, like there's no money in the hunting industry compared to Hollywood and movie productions and Red Bull films and you know, that type of stuff. So we're always like, all right, you know, who are these big production companies that are making these big super badass films? Like, how can we kind of strive to emulate that without breaking the bank from a production budget standpoint? So it's been a whirlwind.
When did the actual, because separate from Heartland Bowhunter, you guys have an actual production business. How long into it did that kind of come to the surface?
Yeah, so I would say like shortly after, well, it came into the scene with the original series. The original couple seasons of our show were produced by a guy. His name's Jason Brown. He's up in Michigan.
Yep,
he had
produced
a couple other hunting shows, and so we hired him originally to produce our show. And said, hey, we got this idea, and
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And so he produced.
That's Kiefer Brothers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he does Kiefer Brothers. At the time, he did A-Way Outdoors, which
I remember A-Way. Yeah.
So a couple older guys, but anyway, we brought him this idea and brought him our footage and said, here's what we want to do. We want to tell these stories, and I love Jason to death.
Yeah.
But he made it just like every other hunting show, and it, you know, it wasn't what we had envisioned, and we kind of actually shifted gears to a guy who Sean and I went to high school with, one of our buddies, and not like, I wouldn't say buddies, but one of our acquaintances in high school, who was
you guys put me in a locker.
He was a wakeboarder, skateboarder, you know, very adventurous, you know, adventurous guy. And he was like putting together videos of like wakeboarding, for example. I saw one of his first videos and I was like, oh my gosh, that just feels badass. And like, I don't know anything about wakeboarding, but I want to wakeboard.
Yeah.
And so like, if we can get him to make hunting like that, then we got to win. And so that was actually a crucial turning point for us, was bringing him on board. And, you know, we gave him some content. He put it together, edited it, and it was horrible. Didn't make any sense. He's not a hunter, didn't understand anything. But once we worked those kinks out, it was a home run. And so that's when the production kind of world got started. And his name's Trevor Hawkins. And so we partnered with him on the production side of things. And then naturally through our partnerships with, you know, our brand partners that we were working with on the show, you know, wanted us to create commercials for him and do this other stuff. And so we just kind of grew that side of the business as well. And for that, you know, for us, that was like, you know, it's hard to make a living producing a hunting show. And so that was like our way of like, all right, let's grow this business and find other income streams. And that's exactly what we did.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, Jared, we are tree stand fanatics, and I think the one thing that we have learned over all these years is to kill big bucks, we got to be mobile. We've been hunting out of lone wolves for many years, the original lone wolf, and then obviously with the custom gear stuff, we're using the 0.5 and the 0.75. Yeah. And the one thing that we talked about is like, what if there were no cables? Here we are.
I really just don't know how you can beat it, frankly. But, you know, a lot of that came, too, from a relationship that we've built with the DePustos. We've had both Cody and Andre on the podcast a few times. The passion for hunting, the outlook on the sport and stuff, I think is eye to eye with how we look at it. Everything that has gone into building this brand and to building these tree stands is something that we want to be a part of.
This is the 40th anniversary of these guys creating tree stands that have been critical to how we hunt whitetail deer today. If you look over the past, you'll see Andre's designs being implemented across so many stands over the years. Such a cool thing, but really has changed the way that we all hunt whitetail deer from above now.
Right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, to get 7% off anything on the entire website. Be the lone wolf.
Yeah, man, it's funny. You know, I think people, well, even today, if you look at kind of where a lot of these manufacturers are, and Jared and I even see it, like sure, they like the podcast or what we're doing. They're like, hey, we need content. Like as a brand, like we need content, right? Because they're filling their own social media channels and their own YouTube and their own website. Like that seems to be like the driving factor anymore from, a content side is like, that's what they want. They need content.
Yeah. And so anymore, I mean, like that's our partnerships are kind of all inclusive, but that's a big part of what we do, anymore. And I got to go back, take a step back. Jason Brown is the man, and he is extremely talented. Those first, the first couple of seasons of HB, like I said, they were what they were, but no, he's gone on to produce some incredible stuff. And he's a super talented guy, and I still consider him a really good friend of mine. We get to catch up occasionally at the shows, not nearly enough, but he's awesome. So I don't want to sound like I was ragging on him.
No,
you didn't at all. Well, are those guys still? Because they had some amazing productions. Like, what was their
Dropped
show? Not dropped. Yeah, dropped was dropped, but
then they had this
Rival Wild.
Rival Wild.
Yeah,
was their whitetail.
That was
show.
it was a phenomenal show. It was also a really good production. Are they still producing stuff?
I think so.
I don't know. They've kind of bounced around on like the brands. Like they had the Kiefer Brothers show, then they had the Drop, and
they did like a I don't know if it's a Nat Geo or a travel type show. Like they kind of went towards that route.
Did that ever actually happen? Were they on?
I don't know. And then, but I did see that.
I see Chris like at the shows at ATA. Like they're still there.
Well, they were all just in Alaska, or still are in Alaska right now, filming.
Yeah, Jason
stuff.
was with them.
Yeah, Jason's up there. Yeah, so they're out filming again. I don't know if it's for like a new dropped or whatever.
I told Jeremy I want to get Chris and Casey on here at some point. And maybe
they're
Jason.
Pittsburgh guys too.
I know they are.
Yeah, so
I think that'd be cool.
They're good dudes.
I think it'd be cool.
Dudes.
Yeah, well, it is funny when you kind of see that evolution, and I mean even so. I guess Mike, when was season 1 of HB?
18 years ago.
18 years.
18 years ago. Yeah.
Holy cow! So 06.
Yeah, 06, 07, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, and
we
that
were
was
just out of high school.
yeah, well, and dude, that was
that's why it was perfect timing for me. I was 13 years old.
Yeah, I was in college at that time. Yeah. So, I mean, but that was going into what I consider like the heyday of outdoor television right then.
Well, Mike's about your age, right? How old are you, Mike?
I'm 38, I think.
I was going to say 48. Oh, my word.
Yeah. So he's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah,
I'm 40.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that to me was
48.
like that was like the heyday of outdoor television. That time frame of that 06 to 12 time period, 13 time period was like, man, it was booming. That was when you walked into an ATA show and you were like, holy hell, like this industry.
I think it was 2011.
Serious.
If I was going to point out a year, I think it was 2011.
Yeah. I'll never forget running into Waddell at ATA, and he's like, hey, man, thanks a lot, man. He's like, all because of you, we got to go out and like shoot time lapses and do nice video content in slow motion. All this crap we didn't have to do before.
That's too funny.
It is, man. It was a big. I mean, people probably understand it, but like, man, when we started doing those shows in ATA and like Golden Moose Awards and I forget what the Sportsman Awards were, but like I
miss those days,
man. It was something else. Like it really was like, I'll never be part of like Hollywood and stuff, but that's as close as feeling like you were part of like a major industry at that point. Like it was a Titans of industry type of gathering.
Yeah, man, the Golden Moose Awards were something else. Like thinking back now, I see how like over the top and how like way bigger that was than what our industry really is, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But it was so cool. Like it was fun for us because like we always do the trade shows and stuff. But like that was one that we used as an excuse to like bring the families out and like it's in Vegas, so like go have fun and like obviously get meetings and work done stuff, but also bring the wives out and have a good time. And so we definitely miss that because like we're a pretty tight knit group of all the HB crew, but we we're gone in so many different directions that we rarely get to all be together at the same kind of time. So that was always a good excuse to do that. But
yeah, well, and ATA especially was one where like because it wasn't necessarily open to the public, like, everybody could kind of walk around and see each other and talk and like just, catch up without feeling like you're going to get, swarmed by people or like try to have to navigate through the crowd to even talk to someone. Like, it was just it really felt like a really healthy time in the industry.
Bro, here, Mike won't remember this probably, but you will.
Okay.
Do you remember at ATA a couple of years ago, we were we were on a hunt for beer. It was like late, and we're like, where can we get beer at this time of night? It was like a Sunday night or something.
Man, I know exactly where we're going.
And we're looking, and we stumble into this, like it was like the back hallway of a hotel or something like that. And there's a party going on. It's like this private party, and we're like, dude, maybe like
we know
we're nobodies. Like we're obviously not invited, but maybe they've got.
It was the Yeti Party.
The Yeti Party. And we could see the growlers like through the glass, I think. And we're like, there it is. There's
the problem was it was a Sunday. So like we couldn't go and buy anything, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we went in there with some confidence. I think we're like, we'll get this guy. We had
a little buzz going, so that helped.
Oh, we had a little buzz going. There was somebody working the door, so they're like, bouncing or whatever and making sure you're on the guest list or whatever. And so we're like, dude, hey, can we're industry guys. Can we this or that? And initially, he was like, no, we can't.
We're like, we just want a couple growlers.
Private
like,
party.
that's all we're looking for.
And I can't remember if it was me or you, but it was you.
It was Hunsucker
that looked out and just saw us out there. And one of us was like, dude, and you were like, oh, what's up? And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll get you guys some growlers. that head nod is what sealed the deal for us that night.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it led to a much better Sunday night at ATA.
I think it was you, and you're like, Hunsucker just nodded me. He gave you the nod of approval.
Yeah, the guy's like, oh, okay, you guys know them? And like,
yeah, we're cool. Hunsucker said we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I can fill them up.
Those were the days, man. Those Yeti always used to throw good big parties. They still do some of those. They do. They're really good in the event world, in the community and doing those community events.
Man, it was so fun. But you're right. Like those days of like
good night.
ATA and SHOT Show, it was you felt like everything was just in a great spot. Like you're a part of an industry. There was a lot of hard work that led up to those shows, and really it was kind of the kickoff for the rest of the year to like really get the year started off right at the same time. So
I was like a kid in a candy store the first year I went to ATA. I was just like, this is awesome. Like everything are free in one building and like all these products and seeing all this stuff. I mean, obviously that was before, social media. So like you didn't know when companies release new things, it was like, oh, let's see what's new. And you'd walk around the show and check out the booths and stuff. And now you can get all that, at your fingertips right away the second they release something.
Yep. Yeah. I remember, I don't know if it was probably in that like 13, 14 time frame that, Bowtech had like their new bow and like chains and it would like rattle and stuff and everybody's like waiting for it. And it was like that was just like, you would try to describe that to somebody who loved bow hunting and stuff, but wasn't like, couldn't go to that show. And they're just like, I don't get it. And then like you would see the pictures of it or the video and you'd be like, yeah, here, check this out. It's like rattling. And then the reveal. Yeah. And it was just like, I mean, to me, and I know things have changed since then, but like, those were some really, really cool times around the space and around the industry for people to like, get excited about and feel like they were really part of something big.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love networking and meeting people and that are like-minded and that type of stuff. So that was right up, all those trade shows were right up my alley. I enjoyed that. That and the Iowa Deer Classic was a big one too.
Oh, yeah.
We went to our first one this past year. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
really? It's one of my favorite like state shows. Yeah. Obviously not being far from us, initially when we were getting our name out, that was like how you get your name out there. That was like one of the only initial like actual shows we actually exhibited at and had a booth.
Wow.
And so we sold DVDs and swag and had a TV with stuff going on and that kind of stuff. So that was probably a big reason of getting our name out there too initially in the early stages.
Yeah. Were you guys there this year?
Nope. Well, we haven't exhibited there anywhere in quite a while. I just we were talking about earlier pre-show kind of life and kids and family and that type of stuff. And like those trade shows are great and fun, but at the end of the day, like, I got to pick and choose, days when you're gone and what you're doing and time away. And I'd much rather spend time out here in Colorado chasing giant bucks than at a trade show.
We don't blame you. Well, we got the opportunity this year, I think, because we drew Iowa tags for the first time ever. So we were zone 4. Thank you. Zone 4 cashed in 5 points, and so that was our excuse, I think, to go scout some of those places we have permission, and then tie that into the Deer Classic was like March, right?
Yeah, it was March
type deal. So
that's awesome. I got a tag this year as well. I was going to
ask you that earlier.
Got back from there earlier. I kind of made a quick trip up there and got some cameras up, a couple stands hung, and got a few hunts in. Passed up a really good 4-year-old one of the nights and saw some good deer. So it was a good couple day trip for that cold front.
Awesome. Are you zone 4 or 5?
I I got
3.
incredibly lucky and got selected for the special permit. So
you don't have to tell me.
statewide.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's a statewide governor tag permit or whatever. And so, yeah, I can hunt either, but I'm actually hunting with Jeff and David Lindsay.
Oh, yeah.
And talking a little bit about our production business. We kind of grown that, and we produce our sister show, Heartland Waterfowl.
Yep.
That we started after about 5 years in of HB. We started HW, and then we helped the Lindsays create their show when they stepped away from Dream Season.
Yeah.
And they're great friends of ours, and got a bunch of property up there. And so Jeff is gracious enough to let me kind of roam a few of his farms. They have a kind of a HQ main farm.
Yep.
And then Jeff has a few farms in the area that he doesn't really mess around with unless there's like a giant on it by any means. So they're pretty spoiled up there in Iowa. Granted they do a ton of hard work and habitat stuff, and I mean they work for it, but yeah, so I get to run around on some of the satellite properties.
That's awesome. So. Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, it was Jeff that we had on.
Yeah, we
right?
had Jeff on.
Yeah, cool guys. Jeff was just on a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they are just salt of the earth people, just like super awesome Southern family. David's wife Wanda, they're just like the greatest people ever.
Yeah. Well, you're not far from us. I want to say you're right.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
I'm gonna say you're within an hour.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so I'm right. I'm hunting.
You're on the border. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of both.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. It's been fun piecing that whole trip together. We I've been trusting the process, right? In case it's like you want to do everything you can to secure permission and stuff like way in advance. Obviously, it's like a once in every 6 year type of a thing for most people. And
now it is.
Yeah, now
that's right. And so we did that. We're like, okay, let's get all of our irons in fire. Let's figure it out. And we have some of that. But recently, some stuff has been like thrown on our plate, and we're like, part of us is like, man, I almost wish we would have zone 5 would have. There's even more of that last minute stuff that would have been like, oh, dude, too bad you guys didn't draw 5. But I don't know if we even would have drawn this year with 5 points. I know some guys didn't draw 4 with 5 points.
I know. Yeah, it's getting weird.
Yeah, I didn't draw, and I have 4, I believe, or 5, 4 or 5 points. I didn't draw, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, between with the obviously the non-resident loophole on the party hunting getting closed. I mean, that was a big one.
Yes, I just learned about that. Actually.
Yeah, monster kind of loophole there that a lot of non-resident landowners were using. And I mean, we had Skip Sly on here, I guess last week, and you see
that buck he just killed?
No.
Skip killed like a 230.
Yeah, it's a freaking monster.
Mega.
Wait.
Do you know who Skip is? Skip Sly?
This year?
Yeah, like a week ago.
Wow. No, yeah. So I don't.
I don't think he told a lot of people. So yeah, you're.
Okay. I don't know Skip, or is it his brother Aaron?
Yeah, his brother killed a 240 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a funny story, and I hope he sees this and laughs at
it.
We were at Casey's, and I look over, and I just see a guy in First Light, and I was like, God, he looks familiar. And I know my buddy Brad Beaver did some of his production work, and I'd seen that giant he killed, and I did like a double take, and I couldn't think of it, and I was like, oh, and then it clicked, and so I get out of my truck to go say hi, and he just finished filling up gas and like pulled out. I was like, oh well. So I text Brad. I go, oh, I just saw your buddy Aaron. I go, I never met him, but in person, but I was gonna go say hi.
I saw him at a distance.
That was Aaron Sly you're talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
his brother killed a big one.
Skip just killed a giant. Yep, last week on their farm, and I think same farm that Aaron killed the giant a few years ago, right?
Yeah, Skip's become a friend. He's tight with like Lakoski and some of the Tacticam guys and stuff like that. But
cool.
Skip's been a real big advocate for essentially keeping Iowa great. As we see things changing, and in
all states, he's kind of leading the way and inspiring other. Like, so we're from Ohio. Anybody that's listened to this knows we talk about like baiting in the state of Ohio, and we'd like to see it gone, and yada yada yada. And Skip has like kind of come alongside anybody who's having that conversation or wanting to improve the state that they're in, and working through legislative processes and stuff like that. And it's been pretty cool.
And Skip,
I wish he'd moved him. He needs to move to Missouri and
Well, we
it's on the
had
radar.
Jason Sumner's on a couple weeks ago too, and like kind of got his take on it, and have had some feedback from Skip and other guys.
Well,
and
yeah. So I mean,
most of which is it's bullshit.
I'd be interested in your take, Mike, on this, being a Missouri guy. So and so my wife actually worked for MDC for about 5 years with Jason in the deer program, and so we've known each other for a while. Obviously, the big one that we talk about is gun season in November, right in the middle of the rut, and his justification in that is that 2/3 of the deer hunters in Missouri are strictly gun hunters, right? Strictly gun hunters.
Oh, it's strict. Well, that's a fair point. No, I think that's right.
Seems surprising given that obviously with crossbows and
when you're saying
else,
strictly, you're implying not also crossbow hunters, strictly gun hunters.
2/3 are strictly gun hunters for those 10 days of
bow hunters.
rifle
I guess they could
season.
be bow hunters also. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know Jason actually. Sean Rex and I and Mark and Terry and Matt Drury, probably 5 years ago, went down to MDC, met with all them, and kind of just had a roundtable discussion about all this stuff, and that was one of the hot topics, of course. And like obviously, from a state standpoint, they're wanting to have hunter opportunity at a maximum, which I get. It's one of those tough situations. You can't make everybody happy, right? And like obviously, I'm a extreme user of extreme bow hunter. I bow hunt a ton. I'm a minority when looking at the hunting population in Missouri. Yep. But, I think the fact that we are so involved and dedicated and so serious about it, that we have a perspective that is obviously, aligns with what we would like to see, but it also has so many benefits to those who maybe just gun hunt. But there's there's just it's such a crazy dynamic, especially in Missouri, because it's like, Missouri, you got the one state, but it's like two separate worlds. If you look at Southeast Missouri and Northwest Missouri, Southeast Missouri is, very Southern, very, redneck, for lack of a better term. Lots of guys out there rifle hunting, shooting, whatever. And if you try to take that away from them, they probably won't even stop, kind of deal. So I do not empathize with them at all for their role and trying to keep everybody happy. It's a tough task, and I don't want to harp on them too bad, because like I said, it's just it is what it is, and they got to try to keep everybody happy. But it's you can't argue with what Iowa's done.
I know.
What do you think of? There's a lot of people who will just blow right through northern Missouri and not even look. Basically their perspective is like, compared to southern Ohio, even though they're geographically literally right. Yeah, I'm sorry, Iowa. Because of the management practices, they're just like, it's way worse. Basically, is what they say. It's night and day. Yeah,
absolutely is. Yeah, it is for sure. They're making some changes. They made some changes in the turkey world, which is a whole different story with populations and all that kind of stuff going on. But they're going to continue to make changes. They're going to continue to reevaluate everything. I get the surveys all the time. They're trying to take in as much as possible, but it's like, I would equate it to being like the president of like the HOA. Like you ain't gonna keep everybody happy. There's always the Karens. There's there's always the problem starters, people that stir the pot, and like there's just you can't make everybody happy. So
dude, I think
at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the resource. And Missouri has such an incredible funding for that. With the tax percentage that they get from every dollar spent. And so you want to see those resources go to good use.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, the more, and we talked to quite a few of them now, state officials, it seems like every state is struggling to figure out how to incentivize hunters to shoot does. That seems to be a really common theme. Like Iowa, I think, has done a really nice job in a few places. Basically what they did was designated doe seasons. And I don't know if that was paired with processor infrastructure, or marketing around something like that, but that seems to be like the most likely thing to work. But like in Ohio, we're seeing that. In Missouri, you guys are seeing that. Sumner's even was like, hey, sounds crazy, but we're considering paying people to shoot does, like the public.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that's tough too, is from a management standpoint, they're making decisions statewide, and you really can't make those decisions statewide, because it's really regionally, the population is varies so much that, we get people all the time. Like we shoot a lot of does on our properties, but our properties are prime they're built for whitetails. So like they're going to, inhabit a ton of deer. So like we have to manage that population. And, you may have properties where you don't need to shoot any does, you know what I mean? And so it varies greatly across the board.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, a lot of the things that they're trying to do from like a season standpoint or even like an allocation of tag standpoint is like, the more opportunity we give, hopefully the more opportunity people take to harvest does or just hunt in general. And I think in some cases it works, but in a lot of cases it doesn't. Like even here in Pennsylvania, like we issue doe tags. You could issue 100,000 doe tags to a single county and, people aren't going to use them. Like it's just, more tags doesn't necessarily equal more deer killed. That's not necessarily the problem that you're facing there. So yeah, I think the designated doe seasons are big. I think that, process of infrastructure or hunter sharing the harvest type programs that are more in support are really, really a big part. And then again, it comes down to like the amount of non-residents coming into Missouri to hunt is huge. And I would say that they're not coming there to shoot a doe. They're coming to kill a buck. So
the HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Sever.
Well, one of the biggest things that we always talk about is what our arrow setups are. And this year we're shooting the Sever broadheads. I think we're both shooting the new 2-inch titanium broadhead. And so, we're huge proponents of expandables. And I know we've had this argument back and forth with people, but we're right and you're wrong. And you just need to accept it. We just want to have a giant wound that pumps out blood. That's the bottom line.
We build our arrow setups and shoot bows, to maximize penetration. And we shoot broadheads that are going to give us the best blood trails, the most hemorrhage possible. And so part of those setups is we're also shooting the Easton arrows here coming up pretty soon. So we've shot the Victory in the past, and there's all kind of great arrow shafts on the market, but like we're looking for a whole system from broadhead to arrow components to the arrow shaft itself. And the more we look at some of these Easton shafts and the components that go with them, that setup's going to be really deadly for us.
Yeah, I'm actually using the Easton traditional axis right now in my traditional setups for both my recurve and my longbow. I've got a 100-grain brass insert on those, and then obviously I'm using a fixed blade broadhead on those specific shafts.
Right on.
So, but yeah, our goal is always to be shooting the best broadhead that we think is going to be the most lethal for our setups. We've done plenty of research. We believe in the Sever broadheads, and we hope you would check them out at Sever Broadheads as well.
Hey, unintentional segue here, Jeremy, but your Deer Grow email blast just went out.
Oh, how about that? Yeah, did you get it?
All right. I got it.
Better late than never.
There you go. Little plug there.
Little plug. Yeah. Yeah. So, still use fertilizer,
Yeah.
Still get some out.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I need some on my
Yeah. No,
ride.
I've been using that stuff that you sent a little bit off and on the past couple of years, and it's been awesome so far. I mean, it's so hard to tell, certain things right now. I mean, we've been in just a terrible late summer drought.
Yep, same.
In Missouri, and so fall plots yet again for the third or fourth year in a row have just been brutal.
I know, man.
Wow. Did you guys catch something like that first week of October? Out here, we got like a week of rain that finally. Did you guys get that?
Yeah. No, we didn't get that. We got it.
The hurricane stuff.
They got.
Yeah, we got
one of the first.
We got some rain in
ones.
September.
Yeah, the September one. I was gonna say when we didn't.
Late August.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, so I replanted a lot of my plots with like some cereal grain stuff, and we got a big rain on that, and it germinated, looked great, of course, and hadn't had rain since. So
yeah, and just gets
we'll
mowed.
We'll see what happens as long as it gets some legs established. If we get a little bit of moisture, it'd be all right. But
it's on, man.
I'm real big on the clover and the corn, soybeans anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I was watching something the other day, and
or alfalfa.
Yeah, we've been in a massive drought in southern Ohio, especially, but most of this area. And I was looking just not paying attention, but like I think Minnesota, I think obviously Northwest Missouri into Kansas, like everybody is in like just a hammer of a drought here since, especially the first part of August. And it's
we got great spring rains and even a couple timely summer ones. I had some late corn I planted that got a couple of just perfect rains right as it was tethered out and stuff. So I was like, oh man, this is our year. Got excited. And then
Dude, you never
gone.
know, like right till the very end. Jeremy and I talk about it all the time, so I won't bore everybody, but I planted my stuff on I plant my fall plots on July 15th. Like that's the day. And a lot of guys will say a lot of guys don't plant till like August or August 15th.
Yeah. Yep.
And the reason I do that is because I'm expecting a drought between August and September. And when that happens, the deer are going to crush whatever has grown there. So I go a little heavy on a seed. I go July 15th, and not to rub it in either of your guys' faces, but my plots look amazing right now. And I did fill them in with cereal with rye. Went out with like 100 pounds per acre in September, and that filled in all the gaps. But they look
banging,
really nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, mine are pretty smoked. Actually, I mean, my Kentucky ones are looking good, but that's because like all the deer are dead down there and nothing's eating them, so they just grow.
Mike, you guys put in water holes on your property?
Yeah, we have a few, but we actually have plans to do more. We didn't get them done this year, and Sean and I were just talking about it literally an hour ago, and we were just like, really, it's a year that we could have really utilized them.
Yeah.
A lot of our property, most of our properties have natural, water sources, whether it's creek or pond, but the creeks are even dry, and the ponds are super low. So those water hole, if you got some good water holes in the rut coming up, they're going to be prime.
Dude, I'll tell you what, my property's riddled with creeks and like little streams and stuff. And so for a long time, I felt like, well, what good is a water hole going to do me? That was the biggest mistake that I could have made. Those suckers will walk right through a stream to come to your water hole.
Mm-hmm.
They want like stagnant water.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna keep putting them. I mean, obviously you can probably overdo it, and not all the soil works for it, but
For sure.
yeah, that's one of the best things that I did this year.
Yeah. Well, I think per what like Mike was saying in the fall plots and struggling there, like, it's one of those things where it's like from a nutritional standpoint, they don't necessarily need those fall plots. From a hunting attracting standpoint, it makes it a lot easier on us. Those water holes, like even behind my house, like they're kind of mowing my cereal grains at this point, but I put that water hole in and like consistently, every evening they're hitting that thing. And I would assume here in the next week or so, we're filming this on whatever, the 22nd, we've got a couple really warm days here. If those deer start to get fired up, like they're going to hit that water.
I'm excited
hard.
to see during the rut
Yeah.
how those work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you know who Pat and Nicole do a ton of those, and they've killed some giants over water.
Pat swears by them. We had Pat on, and he's like, dude, I'm telling you, he's like, great, you have food plots, they look good. He's like, if you put a big water hole in front of your stand during the rut, he's like, you're killing a big buck.
I have to agree at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
we talked to Pat, and that was going to be my next question for you. If you guys said you did a bunch, he's big into those earth ponds, they call them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that because I don't know a ton about it, but like, yeah, we've done like the tractor supply tanks. And
that was our style.
They definitely prefer it on the in the ground for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think if I'm going to do it, to me, those earth ponds are not big enough and they're too expensive. You can get whatever they're called. Like it's a full
liner.
Not a liner. It's like a tub.
Yep.
It's like a tub made out of whatever, some
resin,
sort of plastic or something like that, for like a borderline reasonable price. You know what I mean? I think the biggest of those earth ponds is $800.
Yeah, and it's like 150 gallons.
Is that it?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That'll be dry in a day. The ones I'm looking at are like 800 gallons.
Oh wow, that's like a pond.
And I think they cost like $400 to $600, but you got to have them shipped. That's the kicker.
That kicks, yeah.
So you can get like 3 of them for like $1,600.
So those ones that I put in 2, I still have 2 or 3 to put in, but it's a 90-gallon mixing tub for like concrete or whatever you want to do. And I set that in, and it's 90 gallons, and I mean, it's been holding, and they've been cranking it every day. Oh yeah, it's
really.
Oh, it's perfect.
Because I put out 160 gallon, and that thing's empty like that.
Really?
All the time, constantly.
Wow.
And it was
sun?
It's in the sun. Yep.
Yeah, I bet that's it.
I wonder if a lot of it's evaporation.
Well, and
probably.
The other thing is that
but they're deep.
That plastic is like, it heats up really quick, which expedites the evaporation.
Okay. All right.
So mine's in the shade, like just off, and I mean, not always in the shade, but I would say maybe 3 hours of sun a day.
Right.
And it's been holding great. And I mean, there's been a pile of deer in there.
Yeah. Well, if you guys aren't doing that already, Mike, we've seen enough success with it that I think we're prepared to recommend it to people. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd prescribe it.
Yeah, I'd prescribe that. Yeah.
Deadly tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. It's all those little things, start to come into play. And especially in a year like we're in now, where you're in just a massive drought. I mean, for a while there, I couldn't tell you where the deer on my Ohio farm were even drinking out of. Like, there were no creek. I think they were going clear down to my neighbor's pond, which was like a mile.
Well, Michael, let's kind of end with this, and then I know you're probably itching to go move cameras and stuff. So what's the strategy for Colorado? How long you been there, and how's it looking?
Yeah, so I always come out the last week of archery. When the rifle season opens up out here, archery closes, and so for a non-resident, my tag is not valid during rifle season. So, and the rifle season is very prime. So I think it opens the 26th.
26th of October.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And so I'm here till Friday the 25th. And then I always will come back on the back, after rifle closes, like 9 days, I think. And I'll come back if I need to. But yeah, you think Colorado and you think mountains and that type of stuff, but I'm on the Eastern Plains, so it'd be more like Western Kansas. It's pretty special ranch here. It's got like the Arkansas River Valley is the valley that runs through here, and so it's a basically big river valley, cottonwoods, and they have tamarack bushes is what they're called.
Yeah.
Or what did Matt call them from Land and Legacy? He called them silver cedars or sandy cedars or something like that. Anyway, it's an invasive, like brushy bush, but it's incredible cover for deer. So there's deer on this place. There's turkey. There's elk. There's bears.
Wow.
There's mountain lions. They all just run the river system. And so,
oh wow.
But it's a awesome place, to bow hunt. We hunt a lot in Western Kansas in similar situations, it's just a lot of pinch points and it's friendly for archery hunting. So, but the hunting, we got out on Friday, and they had a good spring, summer rains, but it's been pretty dry here. And actually Friday got a bunch of rain. So it's been pretty wet here, and it cooled off a little bit. And so it should be getting pretty good. We've seen some decent bucks and some decent movement, but it's one of those deals where you just don't, you don't see a ton of deer, but it might just happen at any minute. So you never know. But I haven't seen much rutting activity, to be honest.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it just mainly bed food that you're hunting?
Yeah, primarily. There's definitely a bunch of scrapes that have been blown up and that type of stuff. And so like usually the season falls a little early this year. So closing on the 25th being the last day, a lot of times I'm guessing next year it'll reset. It's based on the calendar year. So
it'll probably
next
be
year
the
it'll
first
reset.
part of
It'll probably
November.
it'll be like Halloween or November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be awesome. It's definitely that 1 week makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Last year I came out last week and I killed on the very last day of archery season last year. And it was kind of that typical weather all week. And then boom, we got a cold front, and that buck I killed was out bumping around on some does, grunting and following some does. So, it's like I said, it's a special place. We got some great deer. We saw a really nice 4-year-old 2 nights ago. But haven't laid eyes on any of the big guys, but they have been, got some daylight photos. You can't run cell cameras in Colorado. They're illegal. So,
Wow.
so that's why I told you guys, when we get off here, I'm going to run and pull some cards and check out some stuff. So we had a good, one of the good bucks daylighted 2 mornings ago in the morning. So, something about out here too, it gets warmer in the afternoons, but it cools off a lot at night.
Drops fast.
And so mornings seem to be a little bit better, which, October morning hunting is like, hit or miss, especially until like later in the month. But we really rely on the mornings this time of year out here.
Well, dude, I'm doing a pile of SD cards, camera cards on my properties this year, just kind of, changing it up, getting a little bit away from like the just constantly knowing and being addicted and chasing pictures on my phone. And I have to say, like, it's been really fun pulling SD cards and just sitting there and like ripping through them.
You know what I have to say about that? I shut my notifications off from my command app yesterday or the day before. And somehow I just forgot about it the whole day.
Yeah.
Like, because normally every time I get a notification, not every time, but every time I open my phone, there's notifications. I'm like,
check it out.
Yesterday, I went a whole day. And then it was like 7 or 8 o'clock. And I was just like, oh yeah, trail cameras. and I had like a whole day's worth of stuff to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny dynamic. I posted a picture of, we have 20 Reconyx cameras on this property.
Yeah.
And Pete, who runs the ranch, pulled them for me the day before I got here, and I posted a picture of them like the night I got here, checking them, and people were like, "Ooh, old school, cool." And I was like, or just giving me trouble. I was like, "You can't run cell cameras in Colorado, so we gotta do it old school." But it is funny, man. Like, cell cameras are such a huge tool.
Yep.
In killing deer and understanding movement and that type of stuff. But I will say, like, if you're like me and like the red notification icon really bugs you on your phone and you're always like checking them right away, like you look, oh cool, if it's a deer, you save it, whatever, and then you forget about it. When you go through a card of the past 2 weeks, you really immerse yourself in it, and you understand all that, and you see stuff that you don't necessarily see when you check them every second on a cell camera, and vice versa. On a cell camera, you might see interesting patterns of like weird time of day movement on multiple properties that are maybe in the same area, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Why are deer moving all of a sudden?
Yep.
Well, you know what? The wind switched from north to south, so this buck got out of his north wind bed and went to a south wind bed, and you're like, wow. So things start clicking. So like you definitely, there's advantages to both as far as like consuming the information that you're given. And I am a deer nerd through and through. So like I'm very, very organized. I have, catalogs of all my trail cam photos. I have all my cell stuff organized and tagged. And I love getting all that information and helping that craft your strategy and everything like that. So it's always interesting to look at it both ways.
Well, here's another one that you'll appreciate because you catalog it. And I'm sure you've experienced this too. It's like another advantage to the cell cameras. That's the biggest one that you mentioned, is like observing the situation conditions like in real time. Yeah. So it's like you get a picture even states away and check the weather, check the wind, and be like, oh, got it. Also, at least what I do is I screenshot it. So when it happens, I'm like, oh, there he is. Screenshot it. Boom, boom, boom. And then I have that now locked in space and time forever, like in my gallery in my phone. So I can go back 3 years ago, or as long as I've been running cell cameras, and be like, oh, there he was on that day. Yeah. So as I'm looking back on historical stuff, when did he show up? When was it this or that? I can just scroll through my gallery, literally not even for just pictures of the buck, but just I can observe all screenshots that were taken on November 3rd, 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, these bucks were here doing that.
I just did that the other night on our Illinois farm.
I do it every night, all the time.
I'm like, what happened last year on October 22nd? Yeah,
exactly.
And just go back in and look, and I'm like, oh, okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. My my number one Missouri buck, I found dead of EHD like shortly in the opening week of season. He disappeared 10 days before. And so I had a feeling that's what happened to him. But my number two Missouri buck is a buck that leaves, go to a fall range kind of mid-season and doesn't come back till around Thanksgiving usually. And so I was watching him closely, and I was like, oh man, when did he leave last year? And so I know all the apps and everything's different, but like on the Reconyx app, data targets filtered by just pictures of him, and then I can scroll back, favorites and just pictures of him and look. I looked, and like last year he left like September 19th, and the year before he left like September 25th, and this year he ended up leaving somewhere in between the two. And it's unbelievable, those bucks that do, not all the bucks relocate to different fall ranges like that, but the bucks that do, it's amazing how close they are every single year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that is the thing that people will tell you, like, you start going back in history, as long as, not severe disruptions or changes in crops or whatever, like, this deer do things consistently. It's amazing to think like what their internal clock must be doing to like have them that close on a lot of these things.
Yeah, I think it's got to be something to do with acorns dropping and testosterone levels and beans turning and
does that come into estrus.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we just had
they know which doe groups are going to come in.
We had a big
first.
discussion on that earlier, Mike, of like, we're obviously recording this on the 22nd, but, it's dropping, whatever, Halloween. This 22nd to the 31st, when like a lot of these first does go into estrus, the discussion around like, is there like a movement competition for it? A lot of times it feels like the mature buck in the area has kind of already set it up to where like he's getting her. Like it's going to be his. They're just going to kind of meet up and it happens. And so it's kind of weird to try to project that here. Just
you know.
Yeah, you know.
When a mommy loves a
When a
daddy.
mommy loves a daddy. You know, the daddy might not stick around, but, you know, yeah, exactly. But, you know, just unlike as you kind of get further into end of October, early November, when you start to see more chasing and competition, it just seems like this first one just, you know, it's already set up. It's almost predetermined.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I love that stuff, man. I love just learning and putting together the pieces of the puzzle. That's what does it for me. I don't, you know, I'm going to shoot plenty of big deer in my life, like just learning the specific deer and his habitat or his habits and, you know, how he does things every year. That's what's so exciting and rewarding in the end.
I agree, man. Well, cool, dude. Well, we'll let you go rip and pull those SD cards so that hopefully you can pick your spot and get on a big one tonight in Colorado. But
yeah,
I guess before we let you go, I mean, best place for people to keep seeing new stuff coming from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, social media, you know, Instagram, Facebook, all the real-time stuff's dropping there. And, you know, our YouTube channel, we're putting out, you know, all new kinds of content now. When this thing airs, we'll have recently released a kind of a October or season update from my Missouri season. So it's pretty cool. I kind of go through, we had an unbelievable season. My family has my wife, both boys and myself have all tagged out in Missouri. So we all shot up. So I go through all that and kind of talk about, you know, how we did it and what was working good for us. And yeah, so we've been blessed with a heck of a start to the season and hope to keep the ball rolling.
Awesome, brother. Well, cool, man. Well, good luck in Colorado the rest of this week. Hope you kill a big one. Keep us posted. And yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, good catching up, guys.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Better Backstrap.
But one thing that's undeniable, man, is you and I both like to eat. And so we're going to be partnering with the Better Backstrap this year to have the best seasonings possible for our meat this summer.
Yeah. Well, dude, when it comes to venison, you know, it's like you've heard me talk about before. It's like, what does the preparation for all this look like and stuff? And it's like, I really want to make a point of eating more venison moving forward. And some of the Better Backstrap mixtures have made it super easy.
Yeah. And so we've got kind of 3 core mixtures. You've got your original Better Backstrap, which is for that grilling of your backstrap or tenderloins or anything like that. You've got your classic taco mix.
Can't go wrong with tacos.
Can't go wrong with that. And then you've got your standard SPG in the orange can.
Well, SPG and down the hatch.
There you go. So right now, if you go to betterbackstrap.com, you can use the code HUNTR15, get 15% off any of your orders on the seasonings, and there'll probably be more coming out here throughout the year.
Get yourself a Better Backstrap.
Little Mike Hunsucker from the old Heartland Bowhunter.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Not to be like sentimental about it, and I guess I kind of said it there, but like
Heartland Bowhunter was a big one for you.
Really? Oh yeah. Wasn't it for you?
Yeah, it was. It was.
You were those guys who are like, what are you trying to be, Heartland Bowhunter?
No, but it was like I was. Well, I mean, I'm older than Mike, right? So like I was probably raised on the other stuff, and then like you know, was already in like the outdoor television.
Yeah.
You know, segment essentially when Mike's show came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd be similar to like, and obviously I worked with Bill, so that was different. But it was even like a Midwest whitetail. Like I watched a lot of Midwest whitetail, but it wasn't as relatable to me just because of the style I hunted. Mm-hmm. But then obviously I worked with Bill and did a bunch of stuff with those guys, so like it made a lot of sense for me to watch your stuff. So, you know, I think I started watching Heartland Bowhunter in like 11 or 12 when I moved to Missouri. Because before that, I lived in Pennsylvania or I lived in the South, and I didn't really have private land. So like,
sounds right. Because I graduated high school in 2011, and I think I started watching it. Well,
probably in that 9 or 10 time period.
Maybe it was before then, dude. I don't remember watching Midwest whitetail or growing deer until about college. Because I remember finding Midwest whitetail. I'm like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And I binged every season, start to finish. Like I just locked myself in my room, you know?
I remember catching the first couple. Like
Heartland was before that, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, that was the heyday of outdoor television, like Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel, if you had them. Like that's when things were cranking for those guys.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I didn't have that stuff through college ever. Mm-hmm. My Outdoor Channel experience was like...
I wonder when you caught that stuff then.
Heartland?
Mm-hmm.
I had the DVDs for sure, and I don't remember like where I would have seen it first. Probably like because my parents had Outdoor Sportsman channel. I remember what channel was that on Comcast? It was like 270 or something.
Yeah, something up there. Yeah, 270.
And then maybe I learned about the DVD from there, so I bought DVDs. And then we would just watch them. It was really nicely laid out and stuff, you know, like clean.
I think I had Outdoor Channel when I was in Missouri in 11 or 12. That's when I got onto Heartland at that point. It's when I got onto a lot of that stuff, even Midwest Whitetail. I knew Grant.
Because Midwest Whitetail was on there too.
Yep.
On
Sportsman. Yeah, I already knew Grant from other stuff with grown deer stuff. Yeah. So yeah,
those were the three probably for me. I would say it was Midwest Whitetail first. You know, growing deer was like just because it was also coming out weekly, and I was like couldn't get enough. Not that it was my favorite, but it was there, and I was but Heartland was there from a quality standpoint. They were right up there too. Pretty influential there for a lot of people, I'm sure. I mean, how many people have said?
Yeah. Well, because
if you took a poll of everybody that's ever started a hunting show and be like, who did you want to be like?
From a production side, it was Heartland, it was Raised Hunting, and it was Driven.
Yeah.
Like those three to me were really like, hey, we're going to like really take
Driven was a big one. They were there too.
Take production to a whole different level here.
Yeah. That was it Modern Legacy? Is that who did some of that stuff?
Yeah, with Pat.
Is that Pat's company?
No, but that's who. And they also did a lot of the Raised Hunting stuff too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
What about Hidden Thicket? That was not a bigger. They did some Rising stuff early on, I think.
Yeah, and I remember the name for
remembering some of these production
There's a lot,
companies.
yeah. Watermark was another one.
I don't know them.
Who else am I thinking? I always think Mammoth, but that is Hunsucker and Sean, Mammoth Media.
Is it still? Is that what they?
I think so.
Run it under, yeah.
I think so.
And then Jason Brown stuff.
Yep, everything under Rusted Rooster would have been Jason and the Kiefers.
Yep.
God, I'm trying to think who else would have been a big production side there.
Like
obviously, like Brandlin, Shockey, and stuff does a ton.
Yeah.
And did a ton back then too.
These guys produce Seek One, don't they?
I don't know. Do they?
I think they do.
Oh, interesting. We should ask them that.
I could be wrong about that, but I think they do.
Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah. The media side's a lot. Those guys do a lot of stuff, a lot of work for a lot of
they do.
companies.
Mike's involved in way more than people would think.
Well, it's why he can say, confidence, like they do this show not to be a moneymaker, like it, because the media production is what
it's basically
do.
A showcase for them. I mean, they love to do it,
and they love to do it. Yeah, and it's been awesome. I mean, it is funny. Like I know Mike's a pretty humble guy, as is Sean, but like their show was a benchmark for a lot of discussions out there. I'm not kidding when people are like, we're not trying to make a Heartland Bowhunter. Like that is the benchmark. There it is.
Still is. I don't know of anybody else doing the same quality, and if it is, it's probably because they produce it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about the resources, the camera equipment, the vision, the time of production. I mean, it's a expensive endeavor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, no, it's awesome, man. I love talking to Mike, and obviously those guys have been instrumental in the content space and brand space for our industry for a long time, and still make amazing content and cool to see the difference. Like, well, even where he's sitting in Eastern Colorado, he's one of the only guys I've ever seen hunt whitetail in Eastern Colorado, like from a big production side. So it's cool to see, continue to do difference. In fact, they were the guys I think that put Kansas on the map for me.
Oh yeah.
I think that's where I really started seeing, besides, I know Waddell and those guys would also hunt, but like from a storytelling and stuff, I think it was like maybe Skylar was filming some of those Kansas hunts, and it was like, I was like, whoa, Kansas is like wild.
Looks pretty good.
Looks pretty freaking good.
I don't know if I even knew. Like, I don't recall like a Kansas hunt and seeing like something that got me excited. It was more just, I think I knew of it, and you and Steve were going. Yeah. And I would hear about it.
Yeah, because it wasn't long before that
we saw these giants,
Yeah, freaking Kansas still is in some places, but was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, maybe we'll go back next year.
we will. We have a point.
Maybe. Well, yeah, but
We're going back.
still,
We're going back.
I'm planning on it.
I'm coming back.
Planning on it. Different part. I'm scheming.
And we're back. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be new ground, new territory.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, if you're listening to this still, happy Halloween. Tomorrow is one of the best days of the year, November 1st. It's the whitetail rut in most states. Enjoy it.
Happy holidays.
Be safe. Happy holidays. Look for those razor blades in your Reese's cup. Happy Halloween. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Take me